Hello, everybody. This is Keisha. I am one half of the hosts of the Regal Mindset podcast show. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. I am Joy, the coach. I am the other half of the Regal Mindset show, and we got a topic for you today.
Absolutely, we do. First, I think we should give a disclaimer, right? Because
Right.
I just don't want anybody to feel as though we're diagnosing or we have the credentials to diagnose anybody with anything. So let's just say that and start there. So we are not diagnosing anyone with any disorders, or any mental issues. But I think it's important, like we talked about, that we have this discussion
hmm
because from a sisterly perspective, there's some things that I feel like we could probably do to kind of help our brothers along, which kind of segues into what we're talking about: broken men.
Right. And I did reach out to some of my male friends, and of course, I'm always last minute, but they are definitely interested. I do believe that this topic is going to warrant a part two. So we want to make
Okay.
sure that we can bring them on to give a male perspective.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
this is I so let's give some context to the story. Everybody knows about the little red pop balloon thing that's on what YouTube or
For
what
sure.
have you. And at first it was going good, but then now it just seems to be a war. And this particular gentleman, because I mean we seen Aaron the plumber. I don't
Okay.
have you seen him?
I usually catch this as snippets that's on
Okay.
social media.
He's the one that looked like a ninja turtle and always crashing out on people.
Okay.
So he's
Okay.
the crash out. So now he's on Drewski, and then he was on not Drewski, he was on uh 21 something. I can't think of them shows, but get kind of popular for just crashing out. He'll
Mm,
fight anybody anywhere for any reason. He don't care. And
okay.
so, I've noticed that the men, these are some, and I hope nobody take offense. These some weird men.
Oh.
Like,
Okay.
yeah. And so when we play the video, hopefully people will see, like what's going on? What's wrong, sir? Like, that's
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then we also welcome, the men's perspective in
Yeah.
terms of, their experiences, who they interact with on a day-to-day basis, and how someone may have brought this to their attention. So,
hmm
um, if it's okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play the video.
Let's play
You
it.
ready?
hmm
All right.
Popping your balloon. So like the other lady said, I have seen you on previous episodes and I did find it a little distasteful, but I've never met you in person. I wanted to give you a chance. That's why I had it unpopped. But then I witnessed it for myself. The same distaste I kind of saw in the last episodes. To be specific, I guess I'll say I think you say you're very confident, but when somebody brings up height, you get very defensive, which is not indicative of confidence. And so for me, I wanted to hear you out because I did have a prefix judgment of you, but I wanted to hear you out. And then that interaction kind of confirmed what I prejudged. So
You're done.
All right. No, she's someone that's your type.
She's good. She's definitely a catch.
thank you.
But I think he was wrong with that. You know, the fixation height that y'all women have, that's a
Don't
problem.
say y'all. I never spoke on your
You
height.
just spoke on the height.
No, I never spoke
You
on
just
your
spoke on
height.
the height.
I never spoke on your height. I said what you did on your previous episodes was distasteful to me, but I wanted to give you a chance to come out here and interact with you myself. I actually wanted to answer one of your questions, which is why I had my balloon unpopped. But you got I won't say sassy. You got defensive with her. And I didn't appreciate that, and I feel like you were like that on the previous episodes, and I saw it in real
But
life.
that's not you. That's a whole nother woman. So you a girl's girl?
Whoa, calm down, Jamal.
Define girls girl.
Or you a girl's girl? You know
Define
exactly what that means.
No, define girls
You a
girl.
girl's girl. So when
Define
you a
girls girl.
that kind of mean you would choose a woman before you choose a man. That's what that
Oh
would mean.
yes.
You would? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go down here. Your name and age.
Y'all gonna get it today.
Hi, I'm Shaylin
Y'all
and
gonna
I'm
get it
30.
today.
Shaylin, what do you do?
I'm a nursing student.
And so why did you end up popping your balloon?
I'm copping out. It's because you're short.
Okay.
And I don't like men that argue with women. All that going back and forth is crazy.
No problem.
That part.
Okay.
Is she someone that's your type?
She's nice. She'll catch. But then again, she's a girl's girl. You'll
Keep it
follow
cute.
her.
Keep it
You a
cute.
follower,
Keep
love.
it cute,
You worrying
buddy.
about what I'm telling the next woman, you'll follow her.
Here you go, arguing
Worry
with
about what
women
I tell
again.
you.
That's
It's really
crazy.
not about being argumentative. It's about really letting you women know what's the deal on a national television show, YouTube.
We're not
right?
interested. It's okay.
It's all
Just
good.
take
You
it
don't
to
have
the
to be
chin.
interested,
Move
but you're
on.
gonna listen to what I gotta tell you
Brian,
after
let's
you
move
say
on.
what
Let's
you
move
say,
on. Let's
right?
move on. Let's move on.
It's all fair game.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and when we do a part two, we got to bring the second part of that video.
Yeah, it's only right.
I, what's wrong? Like,
Listen,
ah,
those are the situations, in my opinion, where you need your partner by you to pull your coattail, right? And so the men that I grew up around or I
mhm,
surrounded myself with as I was coming up, 20s, 30s, whatever. Generally, not all of them, but generally, if they feel like a man is getting out of pocket, they're going to tap him on the shoulder. Hey, yo, bro, calm down. Chill out. You being a little aggressive with the one, just like she said. And everything I feel like the first young lady articulated was
very
right.
well.
So,
Hmm.
even having only seen this short portion of this show, right?
Right.
And he just, like the other young lady said, just couldn't take it. He didn't take it on the chin. He just does not do well with rejection and or his facing his insecurities.
That's it.
Period, point blank.
But he wasn't even short. I could
I didn't
see
think so.
if he was like some of them other guys that's been on there,
Yeah,
he wasn't even short. He's not an ugly guy.
right.
He was dressed. I liked his outfit.
Decent.
It
Yeah.
was it looked good. It wasn't overwhelming because I've seen some that came on there and I'm like, wait a minute. It wasn't overwhelming. It worked. But
Yeah.
you said the word rejection. That's an issue because yeah, when a man get out of pocket, we're used to men in our lives checking them. Like, yo, you don't
Yeah.
talk to a lady like that, blah, blah, blah. But even when the young lady in the pink was talking to him, that height thing triggered him because she said, I didn't say anything about your height. She was
She did.
explaining to him, this is the reason why I gave you a chance. And he took it as an attack. Then he wanted to come out, oh, you're a girl's girl. You couldn't even give a definition of that.
I think he made it up on the way.
Yeah, I think he did too. It's like he made a little pot of Kool-Aid right there, a little pitcher of Kool-Aid. And I was looking at that and I played it multiple times because I said, this guy, and the fact that he needed to get his word in, he needed to be heard. Like he said, y'all gonna get this today. Y'all gonna
Hmm.
get it today. He's been on there multiple times and cannot find anyone. Yeah, extremely aggressive, but it's some underlying issues that he has to deal with. The fact that you don't, okay, because I don't want to spoil it, but the part two of
Yeah.
the video, the
Whew.
girl, she really says it. She says, if I was on she said, put me on your arm, I would be cringing right now because of the way you're talking to her. And you're mad because women are like, no, he shouldn't treat you like that. And I'm going to stand with you. This
Hmm.
is some solidarity. We have to stand together versus the way things have been where you're willing to put your friend or your girlfriend in that predicament, of being in this, with this guy.
Hmm.
Because what would happen? I mean, to me, he's abusive. Don't let it go his way. Or
Yeah.
he's that type that, oh, I'm gonna kill myself if you leave it. Nobody can have you. If I can't have you, nobody can have you. Something is not clicking right.
Yeah. Clearly.
Something is not clicking right with this guy. And he's disturbing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and not to mention the first young lady, she said, I've seen this behavior from you before.
Hmm.
That's the first flag. And well, first awareness for
Right.
him is what he should have been. Okay, that's a mental note. All right. So, and when she says to you, clear as day, when I
It was
heard her, I
clear.
understood it very clearly. She articulated it very well. In that, the reason she came on and she didn't pop her balloon is because she wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
For him to ask a question, she answered that question. And I'm assuming she answered the question and then she also offered some additional information about him, second opportunity for him to at that point be able to say, okay, take some self-criticism or take some feedback in and say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this young lady is saying to me that I seem to be triggered by the words or the insinuation that I'm short. There's something, like you said, there's something there.
Something there.
So if I am in a good space mentally or in a healthy space, that's for me to take a mental note, and I need to speak to a counselor and or therapist, whichever one
Mm-hmm.
fits your needs, to be able to say, hey, there in I've heard this a few times, I've heard this recently, let me unpack this and figure out where this stems from, where this
Right.
is coming from.
Right.
That's what I feel like should have happened. But people don't
Exactly.
respond in the way that we wish they would respond or the way we would want them to respond.
Right. And rejection is okay. Everybody's
Hmm.
going to experience it at some point in time. But I've noticed that this generation, maybe the generation, let's start with the millennials.
Okay.
That generation down to the alphas, whatever they are, they can't take a no.
Yeah.
We've heard no so much that it's like,
All
okay,
right.
we'll find another way.
Yeah.
You tell them no, they break down because that was the only way. No, figure it out. And
Absolutely
then
right.
and then when they're forced to figure it out, it's more of you didn't support me, you didn't have my back. You what? No, figure it out. I don't have to. No, that's not how this works. And if you're a millennial, Gen Z, take it how you want to. But I said what I said. Y'all
Okay.
don't know how to figure it out, and if you do, you was raised by the right person. Be
Yeah. Or they go to
my
Google.
Yeah, you figure it out. Chat GPT it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you was raised on technology, and now um, this new the what Gen Alpha, whatever they are, everything is Chat GPT.
Yeah.
So it's
Pretty
like
much.
you just have to be that way. But I listened to this guy. I watched the other video, and it doesn't get any better. I could tell you that. And just his attack, and then the way he was like, "Well, you shouldn't be." And I'm again giving a little on the next video. Um, if you with me, you should be caring about how I talk to another woman. Yes, I would, because that's how you're
What?
going to talk to me.
Okay.
You're going to
Behind
talk to
closed
me
doors
like that. Exactly. You're going
and
to be
or in public.
aggressive. You're giving that again. If I can't have you, nobody else will. There's also
Possessive.
some other insecurities there, other than you just being short. Because
Yeah.
obviously something ain't. Because I wouldn't care if I got it going on. I went short or not. That's you missed out.
Yeah.
But I ain't got to tell
Yeah.
you missed out. You got to let the other person figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know, yeah.
remember so I got two things. I remember when I was in high school and I was walking home. I didn't have a car at the time, or my car was broken, whatever the case
Hmm.
was. And this guy pulls over and he's trying to talk to me, right? So I'm like, whatever. First of all, he on the passenger side. That was the one thing. I was okay, whatever. But he said, you know what? I would talk to you, but you're too skinny. I said,
Thank you.
listen, okay. You look, you say me,
Right.
you on the passenger side and you got the nerve to complain that I'm too skinny. Wait
Right.
till you get older. Let's see what you look like.
Right. Because even like this is also when I see now how when young ladies go out and men approach them and they tell them no, they rather give them their telephone number to avoid the conflict. And I didn't grow up like that. Like, granted, I didn't date a lot of men because that just wasn't my taste bud. But I dated some. I let them take me out.
Yeah.
And the only ones I was really aggressive was some Africans. Boy, they don't let go. They get you in the club and they act like they own you. Know I could buy my own drink.
Right.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't want your drink anyway because you might be trying to take me home after I don't want all of that.
Yeah.
But it stems from rejection. These guys now cannot handle rejection. Like I've seen where men have taken the lives of their girlfriends and
Yeah.
wives because they can't take rejection. You tell them you don't want to talk to them. All right, well, you ain't all that anyway. So what warranted that? Because I said no.
Feelings, man. They in their feelings.
Exactly. Now this is a whole. That's when the girl in you come out because it's like I didn't just because I said no, thank you, or I'm good, thank you so much. Oh, you thank you all that? No, now I can get there if you want to, but no, it's getting bad.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
getting worse, and it's like you would think some guys are more mature, and then you get the real psycho one that'll shoot you right then because you told them no.
Wow, wow. Well, listen, I'm enjoying the conversation, but I also want to backtrack just a little bit, right?
Hmm.
Because I want to give, again, our viewers, especially if they're just tuning in, I want to give them the opportunity to understand what we're talking about. Where's the
Right,
subject we're talking about tonight is broken men. How
right.
can we or how should we define a broken man? Because some men are probably going to watch this, and or some maybe masculine presenting person may watch and be like, I don't know if that's me, or maybe that's not quite the situation that happened to me.
Hmm.
Let's better understand what you feel like is a broken man, and I'll tell you my version.
So a broken man to me is someone who's emotionally, I can't even think of the word I want to use.
Unavailable.
Yeah, not just unavailable. He is so stunted
Mm,
emotionally because he doesn't know how to articulate it, whether it's write it down,
mm-hmm.
draw me a picture, how you feel. You don't know how to do that. You've tried to identify your manhood in a way that may not be true for you because of what you've heard, what you perceive to be a man. To me, that's a broken man because you're not complete.
Okay.
A
Okay.
broken man is a man who thinks that they certain things classify them as either top tier or what have you. Prime example. If you say to a guy, he said, "Oh, I'm a top tier guy." Well, what makes you top tier? Oh, I'm 6'4". That doesn't make you top tier. That makes you tall. You know. Oh, I got a master's degree. That doesn't make you top tier. That makes you educated. Because I would classify a top tier guy, a whole man, as my uncle who didn't even graduate high school till he was in his late 30s.
Mm,
And he didn't. That's when he went back and decided to go get something.
yeah.
But he knew how to handle the women in his life. He knew how to provide. He knew how to have a conversation with you before he whooped you. He had it was just a lot about him that you could say, if I had to have a man in my life, this would be the one. You knew
Mm-hmm.
he was going to protect you. My uncle was Superman. He saved the day on everything. To me, that is top tier. He
Okay.
wasn't filthy rich, but he made sure that you ate, you had everything you need and everything you asked for. And he
I
was
love that.
quiet about it. And when he talked to you in such a tone that you were like, you know what? I get it. I ain't even got nothing to say. To
Yeah.
me, that's top tier because he knew how to manage through those difficult conversations. He knew how to manage. He knew when to turn it on, when to turn it off. So to me, that is whole. He was able to deal with whether it was trial and error. He was able to deal with it. So to me, that would be a broken person. If you have to classify yourself by items, by situation, oh, I got money. Oh, I got grills. I got because that's on that show too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you own yachts. That's not. You're still broken because you're trying
Mm-hmm.
to compensate for something, and you shouldn't have to. You should just exist, and that should
Yeah.
be enough.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree with a lot of that. What I might add to that, to contribute to what I feel like is a broken man, and I've come across some of them, in my life, not necessarily
Mhm.
that I've dated them, but I've just seen them operate out in public. I would say a man who lacks the ability, like you said, to fully understand himself and his position in this world as he exists. And some of that, in my opinion, is because of lack of familiarness, right?
Mhm.
They've not necessarily seen that being modeled, so they're trying
Yeah.
to still figure things out, and that's okay, right? But
Right.
it doesn't mean that you take those inadequacies and those
Mhm.
insecurities and dump it on other people.
Right.
A broken man does not carry themselves with a lack of confidence, right?
Mhm.
And there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? I feel like a broken man is louder in terms of what he lacks in. And for
Wow.
him, it was clear that his height is an issue, whether it was some from childhood, whether it was from some portion or some phase throughout his life. He's been told that multiple times, and he's
Hmm.
not yet healed the little person within him to be
Literally.
able to address people right
Right.
when they bring those things up. Right. So I think that's a key part for him. Men, I feel like, have conduct themselves in a manner in which they are well balanced in terms of how they love, how they show
Hmm.
affection to their woman, how they show affection to their children, in terms of how they provide, right? In terms of how it is that they relate, even to their mother, right?
Hmm.
How they carry their finances, how they show up in the world with the intelligence and the mannerisms to be able to lead not just himself but a whole family.
Right. Oh
That's
God,
what, in
that's
my
so good.
opinion, is a full man who is not broken. Now, that does not mean that at some point or at some, time within his life that he had to go back and fix some things and heal from some things, right?
Hmm.
I think that's true for everybody.
Right.
But to continue to be broken, and sometimes they just may not understand, right?
Right, right.
But to
And we
stay
can give them
broken,
that grace. Yeah, we
yeah,
can give them that grace. But
yeah.
it's also like Harriet Tubman said, you can't free a slave who don't first acknowledge
Ooh,
they're a slave.
yes.
You have to acknowledge you have an issue. And he's been on the show multiple times and he's never walked away with anybody because so you have to take in account it's you.
Yeah,
It's not the 10 to 20 women. It's you. You
yeah.
have the issue. And then I also want to put a note in this because we have to also, as women, regardless on who you pick, to acknowledge the fact that men can break and it's okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's okay for them to break at some point. But to remain broken is where the issue comes in. Either
Mm-hmm.
where they develop narcissistic ways or become a narcissist, or they don't know how to just to handle life within itself. And crying doesn't mean the man is broken. That means the man is emotionally available because he acknowledges what he's feeling in that moment. Now there's different levels of that, but a man who can freely cry and say, you know what, I'm dealing with this, I just need to get it out. You support them, you love them. Like the first time I seen my son cry,
Mm.
not my 12-year-old because he gonna cry at every drop. But I'm talking about my oldest one is when he had a heart attack
Mm.
and he called me on the phone and he normally texts me, but he called and it was FaceTime. So I answered it and he's bawling, crying. And it stunned everything in me. I didn't know what to do. I wanted to break down too because this is my at that time I think he was like 26, 27,
Mm.
25 or 26-year old that's breaking down crying and he's calling for his mama. I had to, jump into that. And we have to be okay with that because a lot of women see that as a weakness.
Yeah,
And you have
you're
to
right.
be, no, it's not a weakness. I've seen, some women talking about that ain't no man. Yes, that is. Just because your dad, you probably don't even know who your daddy is. But just because your daddy didn't show you the affection or any type of emotional support doesn't mean that lacks a person as a man.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, men give their daughter her worth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good point.
Now he teaches son his worth, but he gives his daughter the word. That's why it's important for him to be there. And
Mm-hmm.
if he's not, I do believe God allowed people to be in your life to give you that
Absolutely.
that space because that
Yep.
was
What
with
you
me.
need. Yeah.
I had my uncle, I had my granddad before my dad came back into my life. But at the end of the day, he has to give it. So in order for a man to give something, whether it's his wife or his daughter or niece or whoever, to give them their worth, he has to be emotionally in tune.
Mm-hmm. Good points. Good
Not
points.
sexually in tune that he know how to turn your body on. He has to be emotionally in tune because
Yeah.
women are naturally attached to emotions. It's far and in between you find a woman that is sexually on point just by sight. No, we want to. That's why we want to have a conversation with you,
Mm-hmm.
because we don't care how ugly. Well, I care, but some women don't care how ugly you are.
Right.
You are not cute at all, or you big or whatever. But because of how you made them feel, their body wants you, and their heart wants you. Therefore, they're there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shay actually brought up a really good point, and I had
Mhm,
not considered from her perspective. A lot of
mhm.
broken men have been broken by their mothers.
Ooh, that's
A
good.
son's first and real love is always their mother. Great point, Shay. Um, I would agree with that. I don't know if I've seen it to be able to relate that that's where those those insecurities or those things stem from. I will say the lack of a male present in the home
Mhm.
or in the life in their village at all, I feel like can contribute to that as well.
Well, I can give
Um,
you one. You've seen them before.
yeah.
Scrappy
Okay.
and his
Okay.
mama off of Love and Hip Hop.
Ah.
She broke him because he saw her getting high.
Okay.
He saw her tricking. He
Yeah.
was there the whole time, and he broke down and told her,
Oh wow.
"You're the reason why I'm like this."
Yeah.
I was like, he should have, because she's trying to be like, "Oh, he's a star and all of this. We're just going to live our life," and he's so hurt on the inside. It's unbelievable because of his
Mm,
mother.
mm. Can you imagine all the relationships that have been ruined because he had not healed that one wound? Not to say
Hmm.
there's not others, right, that may have
Right.
contributed, but that wound itself and how dramatic of a ripple effect it's had, not
Hmm.
just on her life, but his life too.
Right.
That's
Right,
crazy.
because he lived through that, and nobody, and the way the story, I don't know the full detail, but the way they were telling the story was as if nobody was there to patch it up. It
Hmm.
wasn't like an uncle or a dad that showed up and said, "Hey, let me help you through this. Yes, I
Yeah.
see your mom doing XYZ, but she had you in those spaces."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the part. And he still honors her no
Yeah.
matter what. But
Yeah.
it still doesn't change the fact that she has to, and then she didn't even accept the fact of the damage that she caused.
Mm.
Another one, Jim Jones. No,
Okay.
Mike, is it Jim Jones?
Jim. Yep.
Bowling him. And his mama.
Hmm.
She was on crack pretty much all his life. Now you want to come back in. That's a broken situation because he never
Yeah.
could commit because he's never had commitment from his mother. So he couldn't commit to
Mm.
Chrissy. He just didn't want Chrissy to leave. Like
Man, that's a good
it's
parallel.
very plain there. And some men, just like even with the relationship with their mother, if it's not healthy enough, their mother become their love.
Oh man,
That's
that's a
a
good one.
right. It's like, wait a minute, it's either me or her.
Yeah, that's a good
You
one.
have to be able to check your mama when your mama pop off wrong. I had to
Yeah,
check my mom over my wife.
yeah, yeah. That happens.
Yeah. She says he doesn't trust women at all.
Yeah, I can see
But that's
that.
how he lived his life. And
Yeah,
so when men have these deficiencies, how do you navigate through it?
yeah,
What can you say to a man that has grown up with this viewpoint of a woman and it comes from his mother?
yeah. Man, that's why I love this show because we have
Mhm.
such dynamic and insightful conversations about things that I'm sure people talk about to some degree, right? But
Right,
these are necessary conversations for you, one, to take a self assessment, right? And look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, do I perhaps, have some issues or some things that I need to address, right?
right,
Why is it that I continue to attract the type of women that I'm attracting, right? Why do
right.
I continue to go through life having the same rotation of things that happen? 9 times out of 10, you're the common denominator and you're the person that needs to address the things that are that keep showing up or continue to
Hmm.
show up in your life.
Common denominator. Sometimes
Yeah,
you got to be like, I'm the problem.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I jokingly said about my daughter, I'm the problem. I
yeah,
know she's going to be hell with somebody. I'm the problem. I know
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And you have to accept this. Like when you go through relationships and you see like you said, the commonality of the
yeah,
situation, you have to call a spade a spade.
For sure.
And with this particular guy, there's no way all of those women. Now, some of them wasn't all that, but it was some on there that was like, boy, you should keep your mouth closed. You know, they had good heads on their shoulders. They, you know, body looked nice. They could tell they was really good women, you know, from what they was giving off. But you can't pull none of them. It's you. It
Yeah.
ain't your clothes. It ain't none of that. It is absolutely you.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, I don't think it's gonna go. It's gonna get corrected his behavior until
Mm-mm.
someone really sits him down and points out to him, you know, and kind of show him in an elementary format. You know what I'm saying? Listen, when you say and do these things, this is why people feel as though you have these insecurities.
But who's gonna do that? Because he ain't got no friends.
I'm gonna tell you who should: his friends,
Mhm.
his partners. If you really call that dude your friend, right? Then that's when you pull your partner aside and say, "Hey, yo, we got to have a man to man."
Right.
How many times have I heard people? Sometimes, listen, I know they have a lot of conversations in the barbershop, right? That's when
Mhm.
that's when y'all talk about it. Man, you
Right.
can't be out here flipping out. You can't be, you know what I'm saying? You got to check yourself, dude. You have to check yourself. You're
Right.
operating out of order. Period.
They're needed.
Yeah, yeah. If I had a friend and family member or whomever, I would listen. I don't have a problem with checking nobody,
Right.
male or female. It don't
Right.
matter, right? Because I don't. And I asked them. I've asked you a couple times. Listen, if I'm ever out of order, if I flip, you know, if I flip out on
See,
anybody,
I've seen your signs, so I'm already 2 steps ahead. I'm like, all right, she done caught that head back and looking over. I think it was like over your glasses. Why I said, yeah, you better crash out. Police go
you
get her.
should have people around you that's not afraid to check you, man.
Right. That's real friendship. It's like,
Yes,
they should be able to give you the hard facts. I'm like,
yes.
listen, yes, you did. I had a friend that did that, and I didn't know how to take it, but I asked for it,
Okay.
and I'm glad she did because I was like, I didn't even see it that way,
Yeah,
but I knew she didn't have any ill will towards me.
yeah.
But see, but like you said, with these men, it was only one guy. He made a statement. Of course, it was on TikTok. He made a statement one time. He was like, his friend got mad at him because he was trying. They went to the club. He was trying to holler at this girl, and he was like, "Nah, you ain't doing that. You can't check them exactly."
Exactly.
And he was like, "No, you ain't gonna finna, talk to this girl." And so the friend got mad at him for checking him. He was like, "Listen, the reason why I checked him is because you just got married. How you want me to respect her when we in her presence when I know you did this? Plus, I paid to come to be in your wedding. And you gonna give my money back?" And he was like, "No, you finna stay married to her." Like, and that was like, as crazy as that sounds, that was a good point.
Yeah,
Like, dude, no, you got a good woman at home. What is you trying to prove right now?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And I would say if you don't have friends like that, maybe you should look in your
Mm-mm.
phone and get
Start
some new
deleting them.
friends. Yeah,
Right.
because they probably don't really like you.
Or they don't care.
Who if they don't care, man, delete them right now.
Yeah, if they probably don't care. That's just how he gonna be. So what?
Yeah, yeah, I can see that too. I can see that.
Because
But
him, I don't
the
think he has no friends.
right. The unfortunate thing is that that's going on a lot, like you said, maybe more so with the other generations behind us, right? And I don't really understand or know where that's coming from, right? So we talked about maybe it could be the parent, right? It could be the lack of a father figure or role within the household. What other things can we say might contribute to the lack of actually I want to call it raising, not in the sense of parenting or nurturing a person. You have I have friends or relationships with people who offered me good insight,
Mhm.
advice, or what have you throughout my life, and I'm a full adult, right?
Right.
So I contribute or may refer to them as, oh, I appreciate you raising me, right? Maybe they gave me some good fashion tips or some good ideas on where to go
Mhm.
get socks from, or so on and so forth. I feel like sometimes they don't have those people in their circle for whatever
No,
reason.
I can say from what I've experienced, we was raised in fear. That was the bottom line. We was raised in fear. We knew we was afraid of our parent,
Yeah.
whoever that, whether it was your grandma, whether it was your mama, whatever, your daddy. You was raised in fear. Now, was it always good? No. But you knew, but it was also a level of respect
Yeah.
where
Big.
you could not see yourself saying anything adverse to your mom. Like you was afraid to still cuss in front of them. Like I'm grown.
Yeah.
Like I remember I called my auntie Gina. I said, "That's right, Gina." She talking about it's Auntie G. I said, "Oh wait, yeah," and I'm in my 40s.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think it has to do with a lot of, from what I've heard, some of the millennials, the ones that's right after us, they feel because of what they went through and they saw, they did not want to duplicate that. So they held
Ah.
on to that trauma that we saw as life lessons.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they looked at it again as trauma. So then now the millennials done got these Gen Zers and they're like, well, we can say whatever the heck we want to say because the millennials can't say it, but they're going to make sure that they don't do what their parents did. So
Yeah.
now we got a Gen Zers that said, I'm say whatever I feel. If it
Yeah.
don't feel
Yeah.
good, I'm taking a mental health day, stuff that we wouldn't know. We went in gunshot wound. I got to go to work. Them, I just don't feel like it today, and that's just how it is. So it's like times are recycling themselves, but it's really about the family structure. And again, family is people you invite as well as family you was born into.
Yeah.
So it's the structure of it. It's like with boundaries. I don't think our generation had boundaries. We didn't know what boundaries were. Our mama walked in our room. Yeah,
For
they kicked
sure.
the door in. It was no
That's if you had a
privacy.
door.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they came to the doctor with you, and you 18 sitting there while they talking to the doctor for you. That's just
While
how
you're
life
not there.
was. Yeah, and that's just how it was. Versus, now these kids, oh no, they're 13, you can't come in. What do you mean? I still got to buy their bras. What you mean I can't come in here?
Right.
I seen they butt. I gave it to them. So I think it's family structure. I think it's also society because the society
Yep.
has given them such a voice at such a young age. They don't have a right to hit you. They don't
Mm,
have, you got rights. When you tell a kid they got rights, the same thing like you tell a kid they got child support money. They think that money is theirs.
yeah.
Now let me explain what child support is. You got everything
Yeah.
you want and you paying me back. Shut up. So I just think it's like a combination of things that, and then it's also like I just don't want to be bothered. A lot of people, especially men, they don't want to get involved in other people's drama.
True.
So that's why I'm like, who's going to really check him if he doesn't have that type of friend to be like, that's just how he is. He don't do it to me,
Yeah.
so what?
Good point.
But
Good
then you
point.
mad because I'm not going to let you talk to another lady like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just imagine what he'll say to us though.
Yeah.
He'll probably just try to destroy us.
Listen, no, you know what? And I was just trying to think. I was sitting here just thinking about that. If I was in the room, I was like, "Hey man, come here, come here. Let me talk to you.
Mhm.
Talk to you for a minute." And then we got to go outside. So because I don't want to embarrass him right in front of the other people, but I
Right.
also have to let him know, my guy, what's up, man? Like,
Mhm.
you was foul, right? And we got to have a real heart to heart conversation. And I may not even know this man from Joe Schmo. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But honestly, in all transparency, I could see myself doing that because there's no way that's somebody's daughter, right? It ain't mine, but it's somebody's daughter,
Somebody's
and they're not here. And there's never a world I'm gonna let you talk to mine in that same manner. So
right. But
I'm stepping in on their behalf and telling you, man, you foul.
but typically women roam together anyway. If we at the club, you with your girl.
Yeah,
Hey, if we came together, we're living together. And he wants you all to himself.
yeah,
No, I want to go outside. I want to go
yeah,
play. What is the problem? He would
yeah.
probably have a fit if his girl went to brunch. Just to
That's
go
just
see some
crazy.
drag show and eat some eggs Benedict. You're gonna be mad when I get home. Uh-uh.
Yeah, yeah.
Who wants that type of headache for the rest of their life? And
I'll
then if you
pass.
have a baby with him,
So here's another question, and I just jotted down a couple just so we
Mhm.
can, have a meaningful conversation. You mentioned it earlier. Society's expectations of masculinity
Mm.
in terms of if I'm being too loud, too soft, or what, finding that balance of where men should be. Where do you think they should get that from, or learn that behavior, or kind of feel that part out? That's a tricky space, I feel like.
Right. I think now masculinity is so broad
Yeah.
because when I like looking at my grandfather, he represented masculinity in a retro way.
Mm-hmm.
To that a metro man, you're like, he kind of
Right.
sassy. But all he
Yeah.
did was he just took care of his hair. He dressed better. He made sure he had on cologne. My
Yeah.
granddad ain't wear no cologne. He barely put on lotion. He took a bath with some Irish Spring, put on his Old Spice, and that was it. That's all you
Yeah.
got. Now
Yeah.
you got men that want to look a certain way, want tailored suits.
Moisturize.
Exactly. Want to be clean, get their teeth clean. Because,
Right.
the
Right.
men that don't.
Nothing wrong with that. Listen, I'm here for it.
Exactly. So it's like masculinity is broad, it's changing. It's not how strong you are, it's
Hmm.
not how firm you make your stance. That doesn't equate masculinity. It doesn't even equate femininity. It's like some women, sometimes a man have to understand it's no A alpha male, it ain't no beta male type situation. It's who you partner with.
Mm.
And it's a way that you can handle yourself that'll make that lioness become a kitten.
Okay.
It's the way that you handle the situation.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
don't have to argue your point. You can come in there and let them get it off and say, okay, so now this is what we're going to do. And she was like, okay,
Yeah. I 100% agree. And Adrian, that's how you say it. You have had some really good points since I'm working.
absolutely.
That was my 16-year-old son. Is my dad. He was mentally weak, so now he tries to provide. That is hard. I tell him because you're in touch with your feelings. It's okay. That's beautiful.
It is.
That is
But
beautiful.
I would ask your dad, what define mentally weak?
Right. Yeah. But I want to better understand that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it would be like, I don't want you to tell my son because he's in touch with his emotion that that's mentally weak. It could be something different. And sometimes men see something a little bit different. So I
True.
would ask him, what does mentally weak looks like? What does that mean? Because
Right.
if you're telling me that he can't think his way through without mama's jumping in, he is mentally weak.
Okay.
So you have to look at it to learn, say, hey, I need you to stand on your own. Same
Right.
thing like how we work with our son. Go ahead and order your own food,
Yeah.
get you into that, because this society, they don't want to, they antisocial to a
Yeah.
fault.
They
They
just want
don't
to
want.
DoorDash.
Right. Okay, so she said because he
He
wanted to
wants to
go to
go to
therapy because he
therapy.
that
Struggling.
so I understand from your dad's perspective, and that's wrong, because
Yeah.
it's like, sir, we go get help these days.
Yeah.
It's called coping skills, we just don't deal with it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I would agree.
I'll probably tell my dad, don't talk to my son no more.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a fine line because, like you
Mhm,
say, you want them to have to be equipped to be able to go out into the world and be able to communicate not just to your partner, right, but
mhm.
to your kids, to your coworkers, to your employees, to whomever, right? I
Right,
just feel like sometimes when we quiet young kids, right, male or female, we
right,
don't give them
right.
the opportunity to be vocal and to advocate for themselves in a
Exactly.
healthy way. It's okay that
Right,
you don't like everything that I tell you, but I need you to understand, or to explain to me why it is that you feel that way.
right.
And that may, not all the time, that may change my perspective or change my mindset based on how you feel. I remember last week you shared that Abby told you that you broke her whole heart,
Mhm.
and y'all had to have a conversation in terms of what that meant, right? So
Right.
you had a better understanding so that you cannot repeat the same behavior.
Exactly.
That's important, and she advocated for herself at that young age.
Yeah, because
She was
we
able to
got to think,
communicate.
because we parent how we were parented,
Okay.
and you have to keep in mind that kid ain't you. So what it took for you to align, you to to get in alignment or whatever like that, it's not going to take for that kid. And I had to pray, teach me how, show me how to parent this one, because I might want to come in with the iron rod and spank her when that might really, really destroy her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want any of my kids to ever have to recover
Yeah.
from being in my house.
Yep.
That's not the
Absolutely.
goal. We're not
Exactly.
giving you a life that you have to recover from, because
Yep.
we're recovering.
Don't
We're
want to pass
recovering.
on other traumas.
Exactly. We don't want to pass that trauma.
Yeah.
So, and but I understand, especially black men or even older people, therapy wasn't a conversation. I felt that way at one point.
Yeah.
Therapy was not a conversation. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
And
It
then
should
it's
be the
not
new
fine.
norm.
Right. You should, if you don't go to a therapist, at the least get you a coach, because you can
Hmm.
still talk through life things. But if you need pills and all of that, you need to go to a therapist. You need to
Yeah.
go. If you want to dig in the past, go to a therapist. If
Yeah.
you want to do present and the future, get you a coach.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I think that's extremely healthy. And she said, my son is a talker and expresses his feeling. He will cry. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
I think that's
wonderful.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
Because at least he'll be able to connect. And it was somebody had posted something. It was a while ago. It was a man, and I think he kissed his son. His son was older, and it
For
was like,
prom, was it?
I think so. And it was like,
Okay.
why did he do that? And I'm like, why wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Or, and it was another picture. A man, he was laid down, and his son came and laid on him. It was like a teenager, older
Okay.
teenager, and it was like, that's wrong. No, that's not. He should be safe with his daddy
Yeah.
to want to go lay on him.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? Now, if his daddy touching him, that's something different. But if he just feels comfortable enough to where he can give his dad a hug, his dad can hug him, give him he didn't kiss him in the mouth. It wasn't open mouth. He just gave him a kiss. Like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And it was women in the comments. That ain't what men do. You don't even know what men do. So how can you say what men do?
You know what?
And
And
it's our fault. It's our fault.
I was just gonna say, I think sometimes when women voice certain things like that, that's because they have some underlying issues that they've not
Hmm.
yet addressed in terms of whether it's a relationship or lack thereof with their father, or some man in their life not showing them or displaying to them
Right,
affection or something to, and they're acting out in that way. That's my
right.
personal opinion. Again, I am not a doctor. You don't see DR behind or in front of, I'm sorry, in front of my name yet.
I would say yet.
However, okay, we try to again bring conversations that are meaningful and that are intentional to help continue to push and evolve our community
Hmm.
in a regal mindset mentality, right? And taking a self-assessment of where you are, what feedback other people may have given you, what your partners, or if you do have close friends that are saying certain things to you, then yeah,
Right,
maybe you should address them.
right. And and I feel that if we involve things like how Adrian involved in her son's life, a
Yeah.
therapist, open up these conversations. A lot of these mistakes that these boys make, like, you should know when to leave a party. You should know when it's not okay to sleep with somebody. You should know that, because one, we probably we should have talked about it. And if that girl looks sleep, let her stay sleep. You don't go in there and trying to get nothing because you think she ain't gonna fight back, or you think that's the way. A lot of these kids, and I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna, if I get deemed for it, it's a lot of these white kids where they give them a pass or they just growing up. No, you should have been able. That child at that age should have been able to decipher right from wrong, and then you want to give them a pass because they got a future ahead of them. No, absolutely not. And I
Yeah.
think if you put them into these situations where they're able to talk about their feeling, what if that child doesn't know they're growing, their hormones are everywhere, they don't know how to direct these feelings, they don't
Yeah.
know how to direct the conversation. You need to have that conversation.
That's called love. Absolutely.
Right.
Learn how to parent my son because it's emotionally challenging. Yep. Child improve and improve. Therapy to help myself and help him.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's good.
And that's the right thing to do. I think that's a healthy and
Hmm.
responsible way to handle it. Right.
Exactly. They should
Absolutely.
hear it from your mouth
We applaud
first.
you. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Adrian. I would say more parents should, know their kids to to the degree in which you realize whether or not that, okay, this is beyond the scope of how I'm able to parent you.
Right.
I need to get us and you some help, right?
Right.
Just a side note, when I first got custody of my nephew, he was I think 15, right? But what had happened for him, his primary caregiver, my mother, when she passed away, she was gone. He was relocating from Alabama to Ohio, so there's a
Hmm.
navigating that transition,
Right.
navigating the lack of parental figures in your life. Both the father and the mother were absent,
Hmm.
right? And then now you're inserted into a new environment with myself and my wife and all these kids. All of that, I felt as
All
though
these
he knew.
kids.
Yeah, because, well, I mean, he had known them before, but
That
he
was the
never
way you
lived
said
with
it. You
them.
talking about all these kids.
Yeah, for you to be the only kid, and then now you go into an environment where you're one of like
One
8
of many.
now.
Yeah.
That's a
Hmm.
lot to adjust. And so I had put him in counseling right away for many reasons. One of them, in large part, was because I needed him to see another black man that
Hmm.
had he was diabetic also. My nephew was diabetic.
Right. Right.
But I also wanted him to help him navigate through these teen years and sort out the things that he's going through, that he's feeling, and the things that he needed to adjust to in this predominantly white school,
Hmm.
how he feels about his grandmother, how he feels about his parent. It was
Mm.
just so many different things that I felt like was a lot for him and very heavy. And because I had not parented before, I felt like it would be that's the only fair thing to do. That's the only right
Right.
thing to do. I'm going to set you up for success, right?
Right.
What you do thereafter is on you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that was very well done. And once
Yeah.
they choose their path, I support you on your path. Let me give
Yeah.
you a little $100. Go ahead.
Was we having so many untouched feelings that they need to
Hmm.
absolutely,
Yeah, because
absolutely.
they have a false sense of appearance. They have a
Yeah.
false sense of existence, and
Yeah.
they're still trying to find themselves.
Yeah. I was gonna say they still trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, they also don't. They may or may not have somebody in front of that's modeling that for, or if they are modeling it, it may not be the right path.
Hmm.
So they've got to figure out what's the right thing to do, know right from wrong, and then they also have to figure out, okay, who am I in this?
Right.
Remove the gender part. They all trying to figure that out.
Is
Who
exactly.
am I? Who am I going to stand for? I just asked my 19-year-old, who she's smelling herself at this point. I ain't going to talk too much details, but she decided she didn't want the same address we got. So, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
But I asked her, I said, what kind of person do you want to be? And her thoughts to me, or her response to me, I thought I knew, but I don't know anymore.
And that's
Man,
such an honest. Oh God,
yes.
that's so honest.
Yes. But I need you to pick up that phone and call that counselor and let me sure
Yeah.
you let them know so y'all can unpack that. Right.
Yeah.
But those are the things that you would hope to have a dialogue and conversation with your seeds or your
Hmm.
loved ones, even your village, right? So I felt
Right.
comfortable enough to be able to say that to any one of my friends' kids. Who do you want to be? I went to a graduation last weekend.
Hmm.
And I asked the young lady, I thought she was graduating from high school. She looked like she was 12. I mean, 15. But anyway, she graduated from college. So I asked her
Hmm.
what she was doing next. I'm thinking she just graduated college. What's next? She's like, I don't know. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you said, I don't know. What I don't
Right.
understand what that means. She said,
Right.
I don't know.
But and you know what?
Okay.
And it shocks us because we had to know.
Right.
These kids, they was like, I don't know what I want to do. We was like, man, we had to have it figured out.
Okay. Listen, A, B, and C. You can't just
Right.
have A. God, it is absolutely.
Mm.
I
That's
said,
that's
take
going to be
my
a journey
oh
navigating their
yes.
father because the first thing you want to know is why you didn't love me, why you didn't want me.
Yeah, I
I
think
had
that's
that
every
same
kid.
question. Yeah, it's like, why? It's like, what did I do to
Yeah,
you to make you not want me?
yeah. And a lot of time, it may not be nothing about you and everything about them and where they are
Right.
at that point in life, which is kind
Hmm.
of what we talked about the week prior, right?
Right.
When our parents were just a girl, just a boy, a
Right.
lot of times, and they didn't really have it all together, and they didn't know the magnitude of your absence and what that would do to their seed.
But
They
then
did.
they
I
all,
really
but
think they
some
didn't
of
know.
them feel that my absence made you better.
Oh,
Because now we're not going to extend that, but think about that. Sometimes
yeah.
that absence makes them better. You just have to be able to explain to them, like, listen, I wasn't in a good place. I would have done more damage to you. And that's where the
Mm,
honesty comes in. You have to be
yes.
honest.
Yes.
Because if you say, listen, I couldn't be around you, I had this problem, I had
Yeah.
this going on, I did not know how to navigate that. I didn't learn how to navigate. I didn't even try to learn how to
Yeah.
navigate it because they know you exist.
I hope.
So and we have to, yeah, definitely don't talk bad about him. But at the end of the
Yep.
day, his dad is going to have that conversation because I've noticed that men wait until they last breath to want to get things right. I think I said it before. My sister father did that.
Yeah.
He was on his deathbed and he called that house talking about bring her here. Absolutely not, because you had 13 years
Yeah.
to come and say something. You're not finna die and leave this open ended story. Now, granted, she mad at me now about it, but girl, that was 15, 18 years ago. Shut up. But you have to have that
Yeah. Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're his
Yeah.
father, be ready to have that conversation and be honest.
Yeah. And a key point that you brought up, Adrian, earlier is the fact that you don't talk bad about them, which I
Right.
can respect that, right? My mom did not speak negatively or badly about, my father. She allowed me the space to come to my own conclusion based off
Hmm.
his actions or lack thereof. And
Right.
that's how I concluded. Even when I would speak to my other siblings, there was nothing negative that I had to share. I just simply said my experience is very different from your experience.
Right. Yeah, my
And
mama
that's it.
drugged my daddy through the dirt.
Yeah.
My mama drugged my daddy through the dirt. He ain't
Yeah,
this,
it's
he
no
ain't
need to,
that, he
right.
don't want you. You're black like your daddy. She went down the whole she was
Yeah,
mad. My
yeah,
mama was
yeah,
that type where the child came from us being together. So if we ain't together, I don't even know what I need this child for.
yeah. Well, the unfortunate thing when you speak or have negative things to say about the parent that is absent, it in my opinion, it gives the child too much information to kind of cipher
Hmm.
through what's true for them and what's true for the other parent, right?
Right,
The father or the other parent that's absent, excuse me, could just be absent because they don't like you.
right,
And the
right.
child is just a byproduct of that.
A
I just don't
casualty.
like you.
Yeah, it's a
So
casualty.
give them the grace and the ability to, when they start having those questions, to contact or reach out if they're still living or if they're
Hmm.
able to have that dialogue, that conversation, and build from there going forward. Right? They may give you all the
Absolutely.
answers you need, but you, again, like you say all the time, Jay, you have to be okay if they don't give you that.
You
You
have to be
have to be
okay.
okay.
Don't go in there with expectations.
Yeah.
Don't go in.
Yeah.
And I know we're wrapping it up, but because I would love to have a part two because of the
Yes.
because we did get a confirmation that he could be available for part two.
Okay.
We're gonna play part two of this video, and then of course get some insight. But we also want to make reference to that new program about the relative race and how these
Oh,
people are finding out who their fathers are, and they're
okay.
having these conversations now. So I want to bring that in next time as well.
Oh man, just what we were talking about.
Oh wow. Well, let him wait till he's 18 and it would be too late.
Yeah, because the son could say, listen, I ain't on that. You know what I'm saying? You had
Yeah.
18
Like
years, you
I
could have figured
appreciate
it
it.
out. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And now the father have to deal with, how the son wants to, if he does or does not want to have a relationship with it. Now you gotta feel
Exactly.
it. Yeah. And,
Hmm.
and then he gotta be okay with it.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, man, Jay, this has been a
I
absolute
love it.
wonderful conversation. I cannot wait till part two. Adrian, I hope you tune in next week. Shay, I'm sure you'll be on next week. I pray you will. We appreciate you all support. I would certainly appreciate if you all would share, like, click, and follow if you don't follow already. Anything else you want to say before we close, Jay?
No, I can't wait for part two because we're gonna turn it up. We're gonna finish discussing this young man, and we
Hey,
hope that we said something to get you thinking, to change your mindset, and that's it.
yeah. At least had a conversation, like you said, extended.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Until next week, keep a regal mindset, and we love y'all.